Today I'm going to speak about the people who have influenced my life in sport. And you know, it's quite interesting because a lot of people say I'm a workaholic. When do I have time for any sort of leisure? Well, my leisure has been based around probably 3 sports: golf, cricket and rugby. And I want to tell you about the personalities that I've met on this journey and how a lot of them have become involved in conservation and inspired me in my journey of conservation and community work. And I'll always remember the words of our late president and the really greatest person in Africa, Mandela, who said,
"Sport has the power to change the world." It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers.
So I talk about golf to start with. And obviously the first person that comes to my mind is Gary Player, because I would have met Gary through Ian Player. And Gary was an incredible person to me with regard to sport and the people that he introduced me to, how kind he was to me whenever I went to a tournament to watch. He would always recognize me and the work that him and his brother did with me and for me. So Gary, a great personality, a great friend, and a great inspiration.
Hello, I'm Gary Player, and I'm speaking to you from the USA. I'd first of all like to congratulate Mantis on their 20-year anniversary. What a wonderful job they've done. Adrian knew my brother very well, and I'm so happy to say that he's continuing to improve and keep my brother's legacy alive, who did so much for conservation, not only in South Africa, but around the world. Many, many leaders around the world required my brother's assistance. Adrian is a man of the land. Mantis, man and nature. What a wonderful combination to have a successful country. Adrian has also been in the golf business. I built a golf course for him in Bushman Sands, in Alisdale in the Eastern Cape. He then came to the Masters with Shirley Ann, and I was able to show them round and take him to the Masters Champion Room, which not many people get to see. Adrian is a man for all seasons. He's also done so much for tourism in South Africa, my favorite topic, because if we could get 15 million tourists, everybody would have a job. Our economy would improve out of all recognition. He's involved in that as well. Well done to Adrian, and may he continue and have many years of success. A man who has contributed greatly to our wonderful country.
Then I talk about Ernie Els. Now, Ernie and I go back, I would think it's probably 35 years, even more. When I met his father in 1980, and you'll recall that I'd lost everything in 1979, Ernie's dad had lost everything in 1980. And Ernie at that stage was becoming a great junior golfer. And in the early days, in those very trying times, we had to support Ernie and help him with funds to go and play in the World Juniors in San Diego. We managed to raise those funds. Ernie went with his dad, and Ernie won that tournament, and he beat Phil Mickelson. So that was the start of an amazing career for Ernie. And I was very privileged to go to the first major that Ernie played in, which was a British Open, played at Muirfield. And I can remember Ernie's dad, myself and Shirley Ann stayed in converted stables. Ernie was in a house where his manager slept in the bed and Ernie slept on the couch. And before the start of the first day of the tournament, my wife Shirley Ann had to put up his pants. They were a bit long. And it was quite amazing because Ernie in his first tournament came sixth, and I think Nick Faldo won that tournament. From there onwards, I followed Ernie with great pleasure and admiration. And I think one of the highlights of my watching Ernie play was I was privileged to be at Congressional when he won the US Open. And I'll never forget that day, because when the big press conference happens afterwards with hundreds of press people, we were sitting at the back, Niels, his wife, Shirley-Ann and myself, and Ernie started his interview by saying how happy he was that his dad, his mother, and his best friend Adrian and Shirley-Ann were in the audience. And those words that I'll never forget. And with such pride, I saw Ernie pick up the US Open trophy, which I think was his first major. Then the next person that I recall and remember most fondly is a lady called Fanny Soonison. Fanny, as I think all of you remember, caddied for Nick Faldo for many, many years. And it wasn't long before I met Fanny at the $1 Million, and I soon understood and found out that Fanny was incredibly interested in wildlife.
The first time I met Adrian was at Sun City at the $1 Million, and I was fascinated by his stories. And we got talking through Niels Els actually, and we kept in contact. And I was fortunate enough to go to Shamwari and see what he has done to bring back the wildlife. And to do that, the vision is just amazing. I'm really interested in nature and wildlife, and I just enjoyed every minute of seeing the tiniest animals, all the birds. People talk about the big five, which is cool and fun, but to have the diversity that they had there, and to have the vision to do that is just, I'm so impressed by that.
With the relationship that we had, Fanny organized through Steve, who was Tiger Woods' caddy, for Tiger to come to Shamwari and visit us after the President's Cup, which was played at Fan Court. Well, as you know, Tiger came there with Steve, some friends, and I introduced him to Ian Player. And Ian talked him into going out on a wilderness trail at Shamwari, and that night he got engaged. What an experience it was to meet Tiger, to meet Steve, and all through Fanny, whom I'm very grateful for that.
I stayed at a few Mantis Collection lodges, and everyone is first class, really good service and beautiful places. Due to this COVID-19 situation, I'm not traveling at all, which is the first time since I was a teenager. I'm being at home, but I'm longing to go back to South Africa and to visit some of Adrian's amazing places. And if you haven't been to South Africa, I totally recommend going. It's one of the favorite places of mine. It's great for playing golf, great food, and the wildlife. Amazing. If you can in the future, go and visit.
And then obviously I remember my three friends, all Zimbabweans, that also had an influence in my life, and they all came and saw the work that we're doing at Shamwari. That's Tony Johnson, Mark McNulty and Nick Price. You know, I followed cricket for many years. I was a great lover of the game. I played a lot of cricket. I've also got to know Mark Boucher well, and his legacy and what he does for rhinos, and just how passionate he is about conservation and the work that he does for it. And then more recently, we've got to know Kevin Peterson and his charity called Save the Rhino Africa and India, and the work that he does, the funds that he raises, and the passion that he has for wildlife. Now I move on to rugby, and I've been very privileged to know the three captains of the World Cups that we have won, and that's Francois Pienaar, John Smith and Siya Kolisi. Now Francois Pienaar has a charity that we all know called Make a Difference, MAD. We are very involved in that. We support it. We have supported it for many, many years, and the work that conservation community organization does for communities is admirable, and I really am so proud to be involved with Francois and the great work that he does.
Dear Adrian, I would like to take this opportunity to do two things. The first thing is to say a very happy 20th birthday. What a journey building the Mantis Collection over the last 20 years must have been. an incredibly exciting journey for you and the family. And the second thing is to say thank you. Thank you for what you've done in nature conservation, but also thank you for the giving back that you, the business and the family have done towards the Make a Difference Leadership Foundation, something that's very close to my heart. I hope that you have a fantastic 20th year and that the next 20 would be just as exciting.
John and I met through Ian Player, and John was a great supporter of all the work that Ian Player did in the town. And then Sia, who I just know, but how I know him is through the Wilderness Foundation and the credible support that he gives to the Wilderness Foundation Africa and the work that he does in the communities for the people. He came from a community, he was a disadvantaged person, he recognizes that and he gives back. But I want to just conclude the rugby journey by talking about a great friend of mine called Ray Dearlove. Ray Dearlove was a South African that moved to Australia many years ago, and it was some 8-9 years ago that we went to Australia, and Ray knew, I met him through Ian Player, my love for rugby. And he organized a breakfast with George Grieber. Now what did George and I have in common? Well, I'll tell you, we were both born in Zambia. So we had a long history that we could talk about. And Ray has been incredible to me in terms of the support of the CCFA, the Community Conservation Fund Africa, as well as other work that we're doing. And Ray writes a lot of stuff for me about wildlife and animals. And I want to read to you a poem that he wrote and sent to me, which I think is one of the greatest poems that I think I've ever read related to conservation and wildlife. And it's called My Son. As we wander through the glade, I watch my firstborn searching for shade. Soon it will be night, with the full moon burning bright. No natural enemies on the plains, certainly confident, perhaps a little vain, but so little, but already has the strut, superior to all animals, no ifs, no buts. The moon is high, it could be daytime. I am blessed with my little man approaching his prime. I feel the pain before I hear the shot, a deep burning pain in my side, burning hot. My son runs towards me terrified. I breathe hard, running for the forest, must hide. We crash through the bushes, through the trees. More shots, so close, when will it cease? Deep in the bush we stop, searching for a thicket of thorns. All these people want is my horns. Why must they kill me to win their gory prize? I wish that mine were not such a great size. I lay down to rest, boy by my side. We must be deathly quiet and hide. How long can I withstand this terrible pain? Must I rise? I stand, but then I fall again. We stumble a few steps, him nuzzling my neck, sobbing, crying, am I okay? He wants to check. My world goes dark and black. Someone, anyone, please save my son from this cruel attack. So those words from Ray are, I think, incredibly inspirational. I use them often when I speak publicly. And I just wanted to thank him. And I think, you know, this would be remiss of me if I did not mention in this episode another lady who has had a great journey with me and helped me to give our story out over the many years, and that's Michelle Brown. Michelle started with me when we started the Rudderfontein Stud. That's when she went on her own as Brown's PR, and has helped me with all these stories that I've spoken about over the many episodes to place them in the public eye, to get our brand out there. And I want to acknowledge Michelle for her incredible work, her love of people, her love of what we do, and the support that she's given me, Mantis, and our team over many years. Thank you.